All right, hello, what's up? My name's Lee, and today I'm going to be reviewing In a Violent Nature. I got to see this one in early access before it's out officially. I think some people have already seen it as well at like festivals and stuff, and I will be back to tell you guys if this new take on the slasher film is worth seeing or if it lacks execution. Anyway, I'll let you guys know all about that after I play this clip. All right.
What the f-
So, as I said earlier, In a Violent Nature is a new slasher film, but it has a unique take, which is that it's all from the killer's perspective, at least I would say like 95% of the movie. And it is directed by Chris Nash, who is also the screenwriter, and it stars Rye Barrett, Andrea Pavlovic, and Reese Presley, who plays the Ranger. Andrea Pavlovic plays Chris, and Rye Barrett plays Johnny, who is the killer. And it is a new film from Shudder. I believe it's being distributed into theaters by IFC. It should be on Shudder after this limited release. It should be on Shudder on streaming. I would imagine like by like next month. I would assume. So if you have Shudder or if you have AMC Plus, because Shudder, all of Shudder is included in AMC Plus, you'll be able to watch this movie soon. I was lucky enough to get to see this one in theaters though. And I gotta say, I thought it was really worth it because it was really full actually. And the people next to me, every time anything gnarly would happen, they'd be like, "Oh shit, oh man, cool, whoa," it was really fun. I had a good time with it. It's really fun. It's not perfect by any means, to be honest with you. One of the things that I found really interesting with this film is that when the movie is from the killer's perspective, there's no tension. He's literally just walking along. He sees something, he kills it, and you're just like, that's pretty cool though. They're pretty cool kills, I gotta say that. And they're really well shot as well. And very good practical effects in this. There's one that really cracked me up though, where they use like old school stuff in this too. Like there's one part where it's very obviously like a dummy, and I love when movies use dummies. Like it's so fun. And he's just ragdolling this dude all over the place. It's really cool, man. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, to be real. And that's really what the whole point is. I will say, I did see some people saying that, I thought there was going to be more walking in this, to be honest with you. But I really didn't find it bad at all, to be real. I mean, there is walking in it, but it was never like extended to the point where I was like bored. I was like interested in it. And they right when I felt like I was about to get bored of the walking, here goes something that's going on. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of stationary camera stuff. They're not really moving the camera too crazy in this or anything. But I gotta say, as someone who's a really big fan of horror films and the slasher genre in particular, as someone who's a really big Jason fan, as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons I'm very excited to hop into Multiverses, because I'll be able to play as Jason in that. And the last fighting game Jason was in, he freaking rocked. And I tried him out in Multiverses, and he was pretty sick too. Sometimes I always wondered to myself, I'm like, what's Jason doing, in between like kills? Is he just it's interesting to watch. It really is, in my opinion. If you're someone who really likes this stuff, you really like slasher movies, you like horror, you like gore, you're gonna have yourself a good time. Now, if you don't like any of that stuff, buddy, you ain't gonna like this at all. It's definitely not for you, for sure. If any of that stuff I said, and I'll go ahead and tell you right now, there's I want to say probably 2 kills in this that I was like, that's pretty fucking rad. There's one kill in particular, I won't give away what it is or anything, but it's I'll just describe it as the yoga kill. Yeah, man, that was awesome. I was like, well, that's probably one of the best kills I've ever seen in a movie, to be honest. It was cool, the effects were dope, and it just kept going too. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. It just kept going. It's a good time, and it's quick too. It's only like an hour and 31 minutes. And by the way, at this showing, they didn't play trailers, so I'm glad I did show up early, because the last time that happened, it was with Challengers when I would see that. And one of the reasons I didn't review Challengers, it was actually my first movie back to reviewing stuff, which ended up being The Strangers. Yeah, Chapter 1 instead. Oh man, this movie's way better than The Strangers Chapter 1, let me tell you. I promise I won't keep like talking shit about that movie every time I make a movie review, but so far this year for horror, between Abigail and The First Omen, which I think you can actually purchase The First Omen now, at least on digital. I was looking at the Blu-ray price and there's like no special features listed and it's like $40. I was like, what the fuck? Are you out of your damn mind? Not buying that. As far as like horror movies go this year, man, we're eating good in the neighborhood. And there's actually a few on Shudder that I got to catch up on. So I just haven't had the time. I might do that this weekend, actually, while I'm off from work and also streaming. But yeah, like I said, man, I really had a good time with this. It's a lot of fun. And it's fun just watching him kind of like stalk, you know? And also it's just cool seeing almost like you can like feel the gears turning, you know? It's kind of neat. Like the way they shoot it and stuff, and the way Johnny moves around and stuff, you really kind of get a sense of like, oh, he's thinking, he's gonna do something here. It's kind of cool, and he takes his time when it comes to killing people too. He doesn't, he's got no pep in his step, you know. He's just like, I'm gonna get there eventually, and somebody's gonna die when I get there, and then I'll figure out how they're gonna die later. You know, it is actually pretty cool. It's fun. It's a fun time. I keep saying it's fun, and that's what it is. There's some good performances in here, like a couple, but there's also some that I'm kind of like, you know, whatever. But also, they're not the focus. You know what I mean? You can actually kind of tell that if this was, like it's funny, because this would normally just be like an average slasher movie. It's not. It's elevated because it's from the killer's perspective. So, and I don't want to say it's elevated horror, which, you know, I think, what was it, Scream 5 made fun of or whatever. I don't really think there's any such thing as elevated horror. Horror is horror. You know, I think that's a silly term. You know, I think Hereditary, there's nothing about Hereditary that makes it inherently elevated above something like Jason 7, The New Blood, you know, which was supposed to be Jason versus Carrie, but anyway. It's horror. It's all horror. It's all in the same genre. Stop trying to say that like, oh, I like this because it's smart or whatever. So how about you quit being a pretentious asshole? You know, like, I mean, I can be pretentious sometimes. You know, I wouldn't say pretentious. I'm just particular about what I like. So, but yeah, I really thought the filmmaking was good in this. I will say, they shoot this in the forest and stuff. It is, other than those kills, man, you can tell it's a pretty low budget movie. And also the makeup on Johnny is very good as well. I'll be honest with you, this is literally just like a new Friday the 13th movie, which is probably why I liked it so much, except it's from Jason's perspective. To be honest with you, I mean, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is like, can we please get a Friday the 13th movie like this? I'll, you know, when this like gets like in a wider release and when it hits streaming and stuff and more people start seeing it, I guarantee you there's going to be tons of people going like, hey, Friday the 13th, where you at? I'll be honest with you, I don't actually want a Friday the 13th or a Jason movie that's like this. I kind of like, you know, having like characters and stuff to latch onto. This was fun for like this movie. I don't know if I would watch another movie like this, to be honest with you, because I would feel like I've already seen it now. You know, I don't want a sequel to End of Violent Nature, and I don't want more movies to take this approach necessarily. It's good for this one, and I'm glad that someone finally did something like this. To be honest with you, if they found another way to approach this type of thing, I would be down with that. You know, there's actually a movie coming out later this year from M. Night Shyamalan called Trap that stars Josh Hartnett that is from the killer's perspective as well. So, but it's an entirely different type of like movie, right? And that's cool. I'm glad. And this also reminds me of another movie I saw a while ago that came out in 2006 called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. That's a movie that's kind of like this, except and it has Robert Englund in it. He's not the killer, but he's like a different character. But when I saw that movie back all the way in 2012 on Netflix, it's with Behind the Mask, it's like a documentary crew who's like following the killer. you know, so they're documenting his process and stuff. So that was a fun, unique take on the slasher film as well, because it was like a found footage movie type thing. And it's like almost like if a documentary crew was like, you know, filming, you know, was going behind the scenes on with like a guy like Michael Myers. And that was a fun movie. And I liked that movie a lot. And this movie does, like, what if we just followed a killer who's like Jason for the whole movie instead of it being from the camper's perspective, you know? And that's fun. That's cool. If they're able to do another movie from the killer's perspective, but do another unique twist on it, I'll definitely watch that for sure. I like this type of stuff. This is cool. For this one movie, I thought it was good. Now, what I was going to say earlier, though, is one thing about this movie is they shot it in a forest, and I think the cinematography is really good for the most part. But they did use, I believe they used natural lighting for the entire movie. And one of the issues you do run into with that is there's a couple of times where I thought it was a little bit too dark in the nighttime sequences. Just too dark. Like basically where I was looking at a black screen essentially. And there's like some fuzziness from the camera as well at times. And like there's one scene where like a character's in a car and there are two characters talking and the camera's pretty shaky and stuff and it's doing a weird thing. And I don't really know if that was intentional or not, to be honest. It was distracting. I didn't like it. And it, you know, but I didn't care that much. It didn't really impact my enjoyment of the movie. It's just something I do want to point out. Just like a little bit of weirdness. It's not like, it didn't like distract me to the point of like Immaculate, which I thought had like really shoddy cinematography. I don't think the cinematography in this movie is bad. It's just they have budget limitations. Whereas in Immaculate, I think that movie just looked bad in general. Like it was not well lit. It had like weird digital noise at times, but then in other shots it didn't. That was a weird movie. On a technical level, at least. I also didn't really vibe with it either. But anyway, guys, that's my review for In a Violent Nature. I thought it was really, really good. It's tensionless, but it's funny enough. It's actually kind of a vibe movie. You just kind of kick back, relax, and you watch this dude kill some people. So In a Violent Nature, I think I'm gonna have to give it probably 3 stars. I was gonna do 3.5 stars, but there's like a 10-minute segment at the end that I wasn't really a fan of. I felt like there was a point when they should have just ended the movie, and it just decided to keep going, almost as if they were like afraid to have the movie be less than an hour and 30 minutes. And I was like, I actually think you guys could, you know, we could hurry this up a little bit, and I could leave and, you know, have a good time. And like I would have left on like a high, you know, and instead I left on a, all right, fine. Like I get it. I get why it's there. It's literally, it's so funny. The last 10 minutes of this movie is almost like telling you the themes and stuff. Like just point blank to your face. Like, hey, just in case you were watching this whole time and you didn't get it, now we're explaining it. And I'm like, I don't need this. I already got it, man. Like, you know, if someone else didn't get it, that's on them. You know, like, so that's my review for In a Violent Nature. I thought it was very, very good. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.